episode 22.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe below and hit that notification bell.
Yeah, we like it when you do that. That's our favorite.
Of course. So today we have kind of an interesting show. We're talking about the proposed by Ron Guth 100-point grading scale.
Yeah.
That would really be a game changer.
I love the idea. I've been talking about this for years with colleagues saying, look, the grading scale is not enough. This even the plus system, adding another 12 grades, still doesn't cover the spectrum of what I see in mint state condition. And sometimes AU, when I'm looking at coins, I feel like the grades 61, 62, and 63 have such a wide spectrum that even the pluses don't cover it.
I agree. However, I kind of hate the idea. And my gut instinct first tells me that this would be an absolute money grab for any grading service, whether it was PCGS, whether it was NGC, or maybe even a new grading service that Ron Guth comes to market with that magically has a 100-point grading scale. Now, again,
Do you think this is coming? Hey, do you think that's what this is? Is him like marketing his own grading service?
I mean, I think he might be seeding the market with opportunity or with just potential impact to see kind of how the market reacts to it a little bit.
It ran through my mind. I gotta be real. When I heard it, I was thinking, well, why don't we start a grading service where there's a 100-point scale, and why don't we use computers to grade coins instead of people?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I actually think computers have come a long ways as far as AI and surface detection, and I think that we probably could gain a lot from introducing AI software into coin grading.
Because grader bias is a real thing, and I know it's probably not a popular thing to say if you're a coin dealer, but here's the truth. We've put coins through in groups intentionally with a desired outcome. You put a bunch of MS60s or MS61s with an MS64,
right,
and it'll come out as a gem sometimes. So there's this bias that happens by being a human being. It's the way the brain works. It's not their fault. Even panels of graders end up kind of being subject to the effects of the brain, which tend to liken things that are close to each other. Then the outlier becomes so much more different looking. That's the way the brain filters information. I've read a lot about this.
I agree. But now, getting back to the actual scale itself, what Ron is proposing in this 100-point scale, it really is not actually 100 points. Because it looks like he basically is skipping from 60 to about 80, and then he is stretching out that mint state and that plus grade, the mint state 61, 61 plus, 62, 2 plus, all the way up. To that 70, where he's stretching them out to individual grades. So,
and we'll go ahead and put a chart up right here.
So you
can see how this is broken down. I was kind of surprised because whenever I've talked about the 100-point scale, to me it was a pure 100-point scale. 100 is perfect, 0 is the worst, and there's a spectrum of what's in between that's almost equally proportioned.
Right. No, exactly. And so it also seems like he's giving the proof coins kind of a range of their own as well. And again, that's the one part of it where where does the proof coins diverge again? Is it numerically or is it a different? It seems like they're almost given a different numeric range. Now here, I'll go ahead and glance at it real fast.
So my argument is, if you look at PSA, for instance, with cards, they do a 10-point scale, which is really a 100-point scale. Because you can have a 9.5 or a 9.7 or whatever out of 10. So it's really a scale to 100. They're just...
No, and you know what? I was wrong. So what he's doing is he is stretching out from 80 to 100 proof or mint state. So he's not separating proof and giving proof a separate scale of its own. It is still going to be tied together along with mint state in that same 80 to 100 grade range.
And this kind of goes along with what I'm saying. Instead of mint state being 10 grades... or 20 if you include pluses.
Right.
It creates a wider spectrum for each grade, and I think that's something that can have a very positive impact on people that are buying in-state coins because it's much more specific as far as value goes.
Well, and again, See, and that's where I kind of disagree. It's like, we still have a plus grade already in place. And so then it basically substitute for that other grade.
It's 12 more grades, right? Starting in XF? I believe it starts in 45.
I believe they can
and
do
goes to 70.
plus.
So
We'll double check and we'll put whatever the reality of it is. We'll post it up full screen so you guys can see it.
I think it adds 12, so the
Okay.
total's 82.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's closer, but I still feel like looking at those lower mint state grades, there's not enough room for.
Okay. So what you and I had talked about earlier in the week when we first started talking about this particular subject,
Yeah.
was we talked about looking at what ancient coins had done, and
Right.
ancient coins kind of created this where there's a few different subgrades
Yeah.
on the actual surface
Right.
or on the holder itself. There's
Right.
the surface grade where they give you an out of 5. And for some reason I'm not recalling what the other designation is, but there's a secondary
Yeah.
a
there's
strike.
Surface and strike,
Surface and strike.
which is for ancient strike is such a big deal because there's so much variance in the actual quality of the strike of the coin and off center, and most of them are way off center that I've seen.
Oh yeah.
So I mean that's important,
That's
but I think your idea of just including surfaces, all you'd have to do is include an out of 5, 0 worst surface, 5 the best.
Right.
That would give you an additional 50 points possible
And think about
in
it.
mint state condition.
Because we've all seen a mint state 61, and you're like, oh my gosh, this thing should be a 2. It has mint luster on it. It really is a nice coin. It's a little flat, here, but it looks great. And then we've seen the same one where you're like, oh my gosh, mint state 61. This thing should be a 60. This thing's a dog. Look at that mark on Liberty's cheek. And you say to yourself, how did this thing become a 1? Well, really, it's because of wear and tear. They're not looking at it that way. They're not looking at the bag marks. They're looking at how much wear has been on the coin, rightfully so.
Right.
But I think in the relationship to the marketplace and where it's at today with today's collectors and investors, I think that looking at the surface itself, and I appeal for the surface. That's why we have the star grade with NGC. That's why CAC has become so predominant.
Right.
And now these plus grades. So I think that's something that should be considered.
And what I always think about is, what does the collector see when they hold a coin? What is their impression? Or the dealer, or whoever picks up a coin, what happens? How do you react to that coin? And surfaces are such a big part of how one reacts. If you see a coin with tons of chatter in the fields, or a big mark on the face, or whatever, you see a lot of contact marks, you're going to react very differently to even a worn coin with less contact marks. And most of who we work with in the retail segment of the coin market is not dealers, but collectors that do not study as intently as maybe professionals do.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of people react to XF45s better than MS60s or MS61s.
Right.
And it's because the surfaces are typically smoother. And so my argument is we need to take that into consideration. This market is about the buyers. It's not about the dealers or any other professional. It's really, what is the user experience?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I agree with your position that we need to take surfaces into account and include that in the grades, and it wouldn't be too big of a change.
Let's send PCGS and NGC a letter and give them our suggestion.
Let's get a petition going,
Why
guys.
not? Why not? What do you guys think? I'll do a little survey here. Do you guys think that we agree,
nice.
Or do you guys disagree with that proposition?
Right.
So,
or the 100-point grading scale or whatever, just weigh in.
Yeah.
Because we'd like to know some other opinions, and that way we can kind of get a feel.
Make sure you answer the question. Hit the little eye up top if you didn't see it. It's a little circle with a little eye in it. Just go check it out.
Yep. Okay, so that's it for the 100-point show, unless you wanted to talk about
No,
anything
that's
else.
it for the 100-point grading scale.
Okay. So we're going to be following this up with a Medium article. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're doing a lot more, like Saturday Night Coin Show last night. That was so much fun. Thanks for everybody that was there.
Did you guys check out Ryan on Twitter last night? That was awesome. So make sure you go back to our Twitter feed and check it out. If you didn't have a chance to see it live, go back to Twitter.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
All right. Until next week, guys.
Bye, guys.